guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Isha and I hope you all are staying happy and safe at your homes. And yeah, let's get started today. We are continuing the chapter that is the diversity in living organisms. Before starting, if you haven't subscribed my channel, so please do subscribe, like, share and comment on my videos. Please like kar do videos ko and yeah, do subscribe also. So in today's lecture, we are going to see basis of classification. Now, there was a great thinker called Aristotle. He classified animals according to whether they lived in water or on land or in the air, but this was very misleading. This couldn't give a clarity of what does it mean, what it was being classified. So the Aristotle, he was also called the father of biological classification. He described animal classification on the basis of their habitat, that is the land, air, water. Now there are few animals which live in sea. It includes like corals, whales, octopus, starfish and sharks. As these live in sea, but they are very different from each other in very numerous ways. So this was only the common point of this habitat, that this is very common point. This was only the one common point. These are all the aquatic animals, but they were very different features. They were very different from each other. So he was the first person to recognize the need of groups and the group names in the study of the animal kingdom. So when we are going to study animal kingdom, I will describe you more about the basis of classification there. Now, what are the characteristics? Now, the characteristics, it is like a group of organisms is similar enough to be classified together by certain characteristics. Characteristics are the appearance and behavior of something. Through the characteristics, we can decide which organism will be placed in which group. Now, the next person was Carolus Linnaeus. He was a Swedish physician and a botanist. He published many of his books on different species of plants and animals. So, according to him, the system of classification, he grouped organisms according to common physical traits and developed two parts, that is binomial taxonomy system of organism, that were the genus and the species. So these were the two binomial taxonomy system of organisms according to genus and species. Later his work was combined with the work of Charles Darwin, forming the foundation of modern taxonomy. Now, there were some characteristics like types of cells, that is prokaryotic or eukaryotic, number of cells like unicellular or multicellular. Next comes the mode of nutrition, that is autotrophs or heterotrophs. Next is the level of organization and the development of organs. Now next we are going to see classification and evolution. So this basis of classification and characteristics, I will be discussing this also with you in the latest slides. So starting with classification and evolution. So why do we need this classification? Why there is a need of classification? Now the first point comes as it is not possible to study about each existing living organisms in detail. Each and every organism, we can't study those in very deep about them in detail. So this was one. The second comes like classifying organisms into groups. It was making easier to know about the different forms of life. It was making it simple. It was making it easier to divide the organisms into groups. Then third comes as is, it helps us to understand the evolution of life forms to a large extent. It was making us easy to understand the evolution of life forms to a large extent. Next comes that it also forms the basis for giving the scientific names to the living organisms in order to universalize their names, so that the people around the world, they can organize the organism irrespective of their local word for the organism. So scientific names were given to an organism. It will make very more easier to understand people all over the world instead in their local word, and the or of the organism. Now next we are going to see, now organisms can be classified on the basis of their characteristics. Now what are those characteristics? That is the size, cellularity, habitat, and body organization. So these are the four things through which we can classify an organism. Next comes the classification. Classification, organizing the living organisms into groups according to a certain set of characteristics. This is known as classification. What is classification? Organizing living organisms into groups according to a certain set of characteristics is called classification. Now, as we know that Aristotle classified the organisms on the basis of their habitat, that is animals living on land, that is terrestrial, in water, aquatic, and on air, that is aerial. But this couldn't work because the plants were not considered here. So some or very few animals except one characteristic did not share any other characteristic in common. For example, fish and octopus both are aquatic animals, but except living in water, they don't show any other common characteristics. So this was a classification. So we need to organize a living organism into groups so that according to that we can set characteristics across certain common things we can group into it. So this is the classification. Next is evolution. Now what does this evolution mean? Now most life forms that we see today have arisen by an accumulation of changes in body design that allow the organism possessing them to survive better. So we have seen many of the organisms which have arisen from life forms from previous many billions or millions of years, accumulation of changes in their body designs that allow organisms possessing them to survive better. Now Charles Darwin, he was the scientist, he first described this idea about the evolution in 1859. So this year is very important. In 1859, he gave this idea, he described the idea of evolution in his book called The Origin of Species. Why do we need this species and all such things? So you can look after that, Origin of Species. Next, how you can say how classification it is related to evolution. Now instead of saying why, we can say how classification is related to evolution. Now what we said, what is classification? Now organizing a living organism into groups according to a certain set of characteristics. So we can classify those organisms. It would be very easy to understand. Now as evolution started, so now all living things, they are identified and characterized on the basis of their body design and classification. Now once a certain body it comes to an existence, it will shape the effects of all other subsequent, or you can say other design changes also. Now simply it because it already exists. Now so characteristics that came into existence earlier are likely to be more basic than characteristics that have come into existence later. Now this means that classification of life forms will be closely related to their evolution. So it will be closely related to their evolution. Now on connecting this idea of evolution to classification, it is also seen that some of the organisms with ancient body designs have not changed very much, but there are other group of organisms that have acquired their particular body designs recently. A little bit of them they have acquired that. Now since there is a possibility that the complexity in design will increase over the evolutionary time in the coming time, it may not be wrong to say that older organisms are simpler while younger organisms are more complex. I hope this has made you a little bit clear that why do we need or how classification it is related to evolution. So with this, I end up the video here. And yeah, if you have any confusion, any other questions, you can let me know in the comment section below. And in the next video, we are going to see biodiversity. It is a little part given in NCERT, so we need to see it, and it is a very important part as bio means life and diversity means variety. We need to see that. Biodiversity, and the next is hierarchy of classification. We are going to start Monera, Protista, fungi, and rest all of the things. Animal kingdom, plant kingdom. Next, we are going to see in the further slides. So if you want to stay connected with this, do subscribe to my channel, like करो, share करो अपने friends के साथ. So yeah, thank you till now. Bye.